which is Environmental Stewardship, a Quranic Perspective. In the Quran, Allah reminds us that human beings are created as Khalifa, the stewards on this earth, entrusted with the responsibility to protect, preserve, and utilize resources wisely. In today's world, where climate change, resource depletion, and ecological imbalance threaten humanity, so it becomes crucial to reconnect with our faith-based principles for environmental care. So today we have distinguished speakers who will enlighten us from multiple perspectives like Islam, academic, and practicals on how we can develop sustainable models and adopt green technologies to fulfill this sacred responsibility. So our first distinguished speaker is Dr. Syed Ali Mohsin Naqvi. He is our first speaker. So he is the chairman of Al-Huda Institute of Quranic Sciences, and he is director of Chaudhry Abdul Khalik Center for Contemporary Islamic Sciences, Superior University, Lahore, Pakistan. He will guide us on how we can develop Islamic perspectives on environmental protection, highlighting the Quranic injunctions and prophetic traditions that encourage conservation and sustainability. And our second distinguished speaker is Dr. Nurul Syala, binti Abdul Latip. She is the Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment at University Saint Islam, Malaysia. She will share insights on creating sustainable development models that integrate faith, science, and technology to address today's global environmental challenges. And last but not the least, our third speaker is Ms. Rida Ashraf, a passionate advocate for SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and climate action, a published author and a movers in wire. She is also the founder of Takallum, and Takallum is a platform that promotes environmental awareness and solutions. She will discuss the practical implementation of green technologies and how communities can adopt them for a sustainable future. So before we explore the scientific and practical dimensions of sustainability, it is important to begin with the foundation that guides us as a Muslims, the Quran and the Sunnah. Our faith teaches us the concept of Khalifa, the stewardship, and Mizan, the balance in the nature. So to elaborate on this, I invite Dr. Syed Ali Mohsin Naqvi. Sir, could you please share how the Quran defines our responsibility as Khalifa on this earth and why the idea of balance, Mizan, is so central to the environmental stewardship? Sir, over to you, please.
Thank you, Dr. Khurram. I think if I'm allowed to share my screen, I will share some slides which I have prepared, which you all can see, inshallah. Basically, the environmental stewardship, when we talk about it from the Quranic perspective and developing the Islamic perspective on environmental protection, what I found in the Quran, basically, because we're talking about the Quranic perspective, from two dimensions, I'm going to talk about it. One is the general foundations, which is built in the Quran by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we have specific foundations, which talk about a specific area. And when we were trying to find out the specific foundations, we found 30 different, we can say, foundations, specific foundations on which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has emphasized on the protection of the environment and the environmental stewardship. So when we talk about the general foundation, the very first thing which we see in the Quran is order and purpose in creation. The creation is not just been created to just live for a time and to end. There was the purpose. There is a purpose behind it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used the word hada in the Quran. So when we look at the word hada, which means, like, general translation that we do is guidance, or he guided it, although I know some people, they don't like to translate the Arabic terminologies into the English, but here we need to do it for the English speakers so they understand what we are talking about. So the word hada, which is the guidance, Allah has used it because Allah, when he created the mankind, after the creation, he guided it and towards its function, what it should do. So we see in the creation that all the creatures, they know what they do, what they need to do. And for the human beings, because they were the intellectuals, this is a special creature That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent a different kind of guidance for us. So at the moment when we talk about the environment, so we see that everything is being guided towards its function. So this is the first foundation, and we have different verses on it. For example, chapter Taha, verse 50. قَالَ رَبُّنَا الَّذِي أَعْطَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ ثُمَّ هَدَى. So this hada is over there, this guidance is over there. The second general foundation is creation as a divine trust, the amana, which you obviously have referred to that as the Khalifa or vicegerent. But before that, we need to see that everything here is the amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah says, آمنوا بالله ورسوله وأنفقوا مما جعلكم مستخلفين فيه. So here the word mustakhlifin is used in chapter Hadith, verse number 7, which goes back to the same point which you raised, that we are the Khalifa fil ard. So Allah has given us this word, this environment, this word as an amana. It's a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how we need to use it, obviously there are the specific guidance about that. The third general foundation is, it is a shared rights of humanity. In chapter Baqarah, if you see the verse, it says that the earth and the heaven are created for all people collectively. It is for all. So this shows the abundance mindset. You know, in economics, we generally discuss about the scarcity of the resources and everything. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created it for everyone. There is enough for everyone, and obviously this earth or heavens, this should be looked at as an abundance mindset, not as a scarcity. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created it for all the mankind, and the environment, whatever you want to use, you can use it. And there is another word which is used in the Quran, that is sakhara or musakhar. So this sakhara or musakhar means that we can use from what Allah has made for us. So it goes back to the second and the third both, that it is an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we need to use it in a correct way. The fourth foundation, the Quranic general foundation, which we could emphasize on, is the need of competent and trustworthy leadership. When Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam was the Aziz of the Misr, he said, like, you need to give me the resources and I will manage everything. Why? Because I have the knowledge of this. So this competency is not only enough for the environmental stewardship, or saving the land, or taking it as a mana. There is another shart, or there is another condition, which is being trustworthy as well. Because Yusuf alayhi salam was the Nabi, and he was the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was the leader or the guide of that time. So along with the competency, the trustworthiness is also very important in the leadership. Today, if we see the problems in the world, it's because people might be competent, but they're not trustworthy. They're after shortcomings, short incomes, and the idea that they don't look at all the aspects of that. So this was the general foundation. After this, we have 30 almost specific foundations which are in the Quran. And since I can just list these things at the moment for the time that I have very limited time. So I'll go through it quickly. The number one is preservation of natural pathways. So this is in the Quran, that protecting land, water, and ecosystem. It is necessary upon the mankind to preserve the natural pathways. And this is the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ مَهْدًا وَسَلَكَ لَكُمْ فِيهَا. So mahd is, he had made this land a protecting land where you can live, and salaka lakum, and obviously he had made pathways. So there are natural pathways. If I can refer to what happened in the world in the previous years, we can see, like when Corona came, there was a flood all around the world. The water path, which was closed for many years, it was realived. And those people, those countries who made societies on those pathways of water, they have obviously faced the damages of the lives and the assets as well. So it is very necessary that the pathways which were made, we need to protect them. Yes, human intellect is there, human is intelligent, but obviously there are some things which are related to the nature, and we need to respect that. And with the laws that today we see that there are many countries who are making these, the laws of ecosystem, like not to, disturb the agricultural lands and all those. So this is important that we give importance, and these guidance was given by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala from before. So the first specific foundation is preservation of natural pathway. The second we see in the Quran, you can see in chapter Baqarah and Al-Isra, we have many other verses also on this, that Allah said consumption of lawful and pure, tayyib things. This is important that today, if we see there are many problems, it's because we are not lawfully consuming things, and the things that people generally in the world are consuming, they are not pure or tayyib. Whereas Quran or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has emphasized on the lawful consumption of the things and the tayyib. The tayyib is very important, the point, because kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiban. Halal is the lawful and tayyiban is pure. So we need to go for the halal and tayyib. The third specific foundation is regarding the beneficial use of natural resources. So recognizing them as a sign of reflection, obviously. And this is very important, that whatever Allah has sent down from the sky or from the earth, whatever we take it, this rizq is for us. And Allah says, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمْ الْفُلْكِ الْتَجْرِي, and He has made the pathways of the waters and all those, so you can use it. You can use the natural resources that you have. So we should benefit, we can benefit. So this is the Quranic perspective. The fourth is cultivation and development of the earth, building purposeful societies through agriculture and habituation, which is the chapter Hud. We have the next verse from chapter Hud. And then we have prohibition of agricultural destruction. This is important, that when we have the agricultural land, specifically if I talk about my own country where I live in Pakistan, we have seen that there are many societies which are developed newly, and they are destroying the agricultural lands. And by destroying agricultural land, we can see the harm or the damage. For example, the damage to the ozone layer, the damage on the weather. We can say, like, the effects on the weather, that we have more summer than winter now, and we have less rain. So obviously, Allah has created everything in a balanced way. And when we try to disturb that balanced creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously there are many things. And that's why Allah said in the Quran that La tufsidu fil ardi ba'da islahiha. This is another verse that Allah says, do not corrupt this land after we have reformed it. So it is us human beings who do not pay attention to the guidance which was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore we face these kinds of disasters. Then we have the awareness of food and its effect. Obviously, there are many verses in the Quran which talks about the benefits of the different foods. And even in animals, when the halal animals are specified in the Quran through the religions, and if we look at the Abrahamic religion, in all those Abrahamic religions, we find the same, the categories of animals which were the halal for all those Abrahamic, we can say, religion followers. So there are other things also in the world, but the purpose is different. So we need to look at this as well. And then we have interconnectedness of the agricultural lands, recognizing diversity and complementarity in cultivation. Then another specific foundation is gratitude for agriculture and animal produce. So let me just quickly go through the list that I have at the moment over here. So avoidance of waste and extravagance. Obviously, israf is being prohibited in the Quran, and Allah said in the Quran, La yuhibbul musrifin. So He does not like the musrif, who is the, we can say, like, who wastes, and ensuring security and prosperity of land, as reflected in the Prophet Ibrahim's alayhi salam's prayer in Mecca, that he has prayed for the land when he went there. Then we have the blessing through faith and piety. Then we have knowledge of reasons. Even in the blessing through faith and piety, we have that if Ahlul Qura repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly, and they perform the good deeds, and they avoid the sins, Allah will send barakat on the Ahlul Qura, on the people of a specific town or the society. So this can be applied to a town, to a society, or to a country. That if the people of a country, because the word Ahlul Qura is used over there, but here we can obviously take it to different, apply it on different levels of the societies. Then knowledge of seasons is very important, that today we see that in many universities, they have the agricultural, departments, but if you ask them what is the fruit of this season, the people, they don't know. So this is important to know about that, and the planning the agricultural cycle according to the seasons. Then obviously the heavens and the earth as adornments. Obviously, just looking at the good buildings is not, good. Sometimes we need time. We go to the natural places, for example, a hilly area, a mountain area. Sometimes we visit the sea. Sometimes we travel through the cities and we feel fresh. So this is also over there from the specific foundations. Then variation in nutritional values, and there is a diversity in the crops. So then we have transportation system for agriculture. When we talk about the agriculture, one thing I need to clarify over here is by the agriculture, we do not mean just the crops. We mean livestock as well. We mean the seafood as well. And it's been used as a whole, because this is part of a paper that I'm working on it. So here I'm using this word agriculture as a whole. Food and human salvation consumption influences moral and spiritual success. The luqma, or the food that we eat, obviously, it has its own impact on us. So we need to look at that. And natural appeal of agriculture and livestock. So we need to recognize as adornments of worldly life as well. Then we have irrigation of barren lands, utilizing all animals products, obviously from meat to wool and skin. For those animals which are halal for us, Allah has allowed us to use every single part of it and to avoid waste. And similarly, from here, we can refer to the circular agriculture as well. Obviously, we have circular economy, the concept of circular economy. But recently, there is a discussion on circular agriculture as well, that everything that we use, obviously, there is a wastage, how to reuse it or reproduce new things out of it. So it takes us to there, because it is all about developing the environmental stewardship. And the Quranic dietary products, we should emphasize on these. Specifically, even Quran is emphasizing and talking about some specific dietary products. We should give more importance to that. Although in the Muslim countries, yes, people, they do give importance because it has come in the Quran. So, but when Allah is also talking about these things, there is something special in it. And obviously, we need to give more importance to this. Cultural development in agriculture, we have proper storage of produce, as Hazrat Yusuf did in his time. So obviously, this is also important because it saves us from the wastage, the waste or the waste material, and from destroying our own products. Unfortunately, in a year, when you look at the agriculture, we can say like stock that we get, there is a lot of waste. Why? Because there is not a proper storage of the product products that we gain from the agriculture. So due to that wastage, then obviously we sometimes face the shortage of the products. So this is very important. And obviously, Quran has given different examples through different stories. So those stories are for the lessons to be learned, inshallah. And then in the specific foundation, we see that Quran talks about processing and value addition of a raw material. So when we have a raw material, yes, we can add value in it. We can process it in a good packaging, in a better way. And then you can sell out to obviously, to have that environmental stewardship. Then Quran also emphasizes on the balance and ecosystem harmony. The balance, the adl in every aspect is important. We should deal with everything with a balanced way. Then Quran also emphasizes on food security through planning. Again, we see the story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, how he did that. Then we have in chapter Baqarah again, supervision during crisis. That yes, there is a crisis, but monitoring agriculture and nutrition during these natural disaster or crisis due to management or failure of good leadership, or we can say like failure of a person who is not who does not have the competency of dealing with something. But Quran emphasizes on this as well, that do not leave anything on its own. You need to supervise the things as well. And confronting hypocritical leadership. Now, when we talk about the hypocritical leadership, obviously we are talking about the avoiding wasteful, because there are people who take the responsibility of a country, a state, and then obviously they are following their own personal desires, and they avoid the rules set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is one of the reasons that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes on a leader who is muttaqi, and the discussion of taqwa is over there. And also when the leaders are there who are hypocrite in the sense like who do not follow the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are amongst the musrifin. Obviously they destroy the lands to just invade the lands, and they do not take care of anything. So this is also very important, that when people are looking for the leadership, they should look for someone who is capable of that, who is trustworthy and competent. And then we have lawfulness of agriculture produce. All wholesome foods are lawful. And the last thing that I can say in this slide is the beautification of the environment, which we obviously talked about it, but planting trees is very important. Allah has emphasized on it. And even in the seerah, we see that obviously the planting the fruit trees especially is being emphasized and is being said. So these were the overall picture of the foundations, Quranic foundation, because when we talk about the foundations, the Quranic foundation, so we have 30 specific foundations, and then there were 4, we can say, general foundations regarding the developing Islamic perspective on environment protection.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. If you don't mind, we have a question from our YouTube family. And the question is, you quote very beautiful Quranic verses, surely, but we have a question that how Quran describe responsibilities as Khalifa. This is a question from our YouTube family, please. Over to you.
Okay. Well, when we talk about the Khalifa, Khalifa is the vicegerent. Obviously, Khalifa represents the one who appointed him. So he should have all the characteristics which the appointer has. So he should show that. And obviously, there are different ways which are said in the Quran as well. Obviously, Quran talks about the mankind that inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. So the criteria is the atqakum, the taqwa. So we should avoid disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we say do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's in a wider way. It's in all aspects. So when you look at these aspects, obviously you should be just. You should be, dealing with everyone in an empathic way. You should be demonstrating the best character in you. And even when you are dealing with the environment, because our topic is on environment, when you're dealing with the environment, you do not waste the environment, you do not destroy the environment, and you protect it. So this is our responsibility. For example, a general example for the students to understand is, when we throw garbage, especially if I talk about my country or the countries nearby my country. So in the Asian country, we easily throw garbage on the streets. We go for outing to the natural resorts and we, just throw the waste over there and come back without protecting, without looking at the effect of it on that environment. And obviously, when we are the vicegerents, we need to first know what are the responsibilities of the vicegerent. Unfortunately, without reading the Quran, even for once, not even the translation of the Quran, and without knowing the Islamic, the guidance which are being given by the Prophet, we try to, pretend to be the best man on the world, right? So yes, we can be the best person in the world using our intellect, but obviously this intellect has been created by someone and he has given a guidance, a book of guidance, that how you need to use your intellect in the right way, because obviously it can go astray as well. And there were many people, many intellectuals who went astray. So sticking to the base, sticking to the main source, this is very important. And once we know the main source, then yes, we can demonstrate it by practicing it.
Thank you so much, sir. You beautifully reminding us of our divine responsibility as the caretakers of this earth. And this brings us to a very important question. Once we understand these values, how do we embed them into a real system and structures of the society? And for this, I turn to our next speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Nurul Syala, binti Abdul Latip. Dr. Nurul, in your experience, how can universities and research institutions integrate Islamic values with a scientific innovation to develop sustainable development models that address global environmental challenges? Dr. Nurul, please, over to you, if you can hear me.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Khurram. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm very honored to be here today with all the distinguished, I would say, scholars. So I would like to share, let me share my slides. Looking at a sustainable model, we have been researching about it based on Surah 7, Ayah 85 in the Quran. And we actually redefine the sustainable development model that is already available by the United Nations. So this is what I'm going to share with you all today. Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see.
Yes,
Please
okay.
go ahead.
All right. First of all, let me just give a brief introduction. For millennia, our human societies and the environment has had a complex history with pervasive and profound alteration of Earth system. That is what we have been doing in this Earth, taking place over the last 2 centuries. These concerns were compiled in a groundbreaking report released by the Club of Rome in 1972, entitled The Limits to Growth. That was as much as earlier where people start to talk about sustainable development. But at that time, the word sustainable development was not being used yet. It was only being used or popularized in the 1987 Brundtland Report, also known as the Our Common Future, released by the Brundtland Commission. So the definition of the sustainable development, which is well known throughout the world nowadays, is a development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. And it has these 3 main pillars. If you look at a lot of the studies throughout the world regarding sustainable development, it will be standing on these 3 pillars, which is the social, economy, and also environment integrated all together to achieve the sustainable development. However, we have to look into all these three pillars, and you can see this is the timeline where people start to talk about sustainable development. Starting from 1972, there's so many discussion and summits being organized throughout the years, throughout the world, in fact. And we have recently have the plastic treaty negotiation very recently in Geneva, where it was a failure because so many countries do not agree on having this plastic treaty. And we can see the trend of sustainable development throughout the world with all this effort being done. You can see it's not getting better. The world is actually going worse. And the situation in this world is getting worse. So you can see what is wrong with the current sustainable development pillars that we have nowadays. With the 2030 sustainable you can see that we have the 2030 agenda with the 17 goals. 2030 is not far away, it's just another 5 years to go. But if you look at what we are practicing nowadays, a lot of this, though we have these three pillars, if you look at the way that we do our model, it doesn't have any boundary. So you can go, the economy can go as far as big as it wants, and the environment can go as big as one. But if you look at this, usually what happens is that the economy, the pillar of the economy actually cover is the dominant pillar compared to the others, and it actually destroy the environment and also the aspect of social. So if you look at what we have now, the three domain or the three pillars overlook a number of crucial factors such as the interclass and international inequality, values embedded in different cultures, tradition, and also spiritual values. So let's look at Surah Ar-Rum, ayat 30, with the translation of "Then set your face upright for religion in the right state." So if we look at what has been discussed throughout the world, we as Muslim has to come back to the religion in the right state. And the source of religion is actually the Quran. And this is where we have to stop and pause and look at what the Quran says about this model, or what does Quran says about sustainable development, because all this while it has not been successful. What's wrong with the current model? So if you look at, we continue, in Surah Ar-Rahman, verse 1 to 2, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran, the most merciful who taught the Quran. So actually, Allah taught us the Quran. It becomes the manual to human being. So we have to come back to the Quran. Then only he said, Allama al-Quran, khalaqal insan. Then only he created the man. So the manual is so important for the man to actually function in this world. So whatever happens to him and his surrounding, we have to come back to the Quran for the solution. So in Surah Hud, verse 1, Alif Lam Ra, the translation, this is a book whose verses are perfected and then presented in detail. So that means from one who is wise and acquainted. So that means if it's presented in detail, there is an answer inside the Quran about the sustainable development as well. So when we look into Surah Al-Baqarah, just now the previous presenter has mentioned about what is being a Khalifa. So in this ayah, Allah mentioned that, and mentioned other translation, and mentioned, O Muhammad, when your Lord said to the angels, indeed, I will make upon the earth a successive authority. So we are actually the successive authority. But the angels said, will you place upon it one who causes corruption therein and sheds blood when we declare your praise and sanctify you? So the angels already know the character of human being, who can actually causes corruption. But we will only causes corruption if we don't have the manual and if we don't have the guideline with us on how we are supposed to become this successive authority. So with that, is where we start to look into one verse which really explains about what is sustainable development as a whole. So let's look into this ayah in detail. Yeah. Okay. I will look into the translation of it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And to the people of Madian, we sent their brother Shu'aib. He said, "O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. There has come to you clear evidence from your Lord. So fulfill the measure and wait, and do not deprive people of their due, and cause not corruption upon the earth after its reformation. So that is better for you if you should be believers." So let's look into this slowly, part by part. So, and to the people of Madian. So for this ayah, for this part of the ayah, Allah called to the people of a place. The Quran is for all mankind and not only for specific groups of people. So in the current context, the call for people of a place is the call for people living on earth, throughout the earth. So we send their brother Shu'aib. He affirms, Allah affirms in sending a prophet Shu'aib, the prophet Shu'aib, whom called for righteousness. So in the current context of mankind, Muslims believe that the final prophet is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom called towards righteousness as well. So if you look at the following ayah, you can see what this prophet Shu'aib calls for. He said, "O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. There has come to you clear evidence from your Lord." So if you look at this, the call is to worship Allah, to abide by God's rule and practice it. God's rules lies in His book, the Quran, and also His creation around us that He has created. So if you look at this, all of His creation lives within the rules set by God. All of His creation follow His rules, fulfilling their roles as how they are created, except for the human being. So if you look at this, the rest of, say for example, Allah has guided us on water management. For example, in Surah 16, Ayah 10, there lies the water management system. Allah highlights about water management in this ayah. Let me just read the translation. It is He who sent down rain from the sky. From it drink, and from it is foliage in which you pasture animals. So there is actually a management of how we manage the water that comes down or being sent down from the sky. So if you look at the way that we manage the water in the stream, that has water comes down from the sky, it goes to the hills, into the rivers, and supposedly goes straight into the sea without interruption. But the way that we design, when we want to create our dams, we did not design it properly in a way that it interrupted the rule or the rules that is being designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we interrupted this, it affects the ecosystem of the river. And this eventually affects us. It will create a different ecosystem when we create a wrong design of the dam, which will not allow the actual sedimentation that is supposedly need to be flowed through to the next level of the river. It doesn't go through because we created the dam wrongly. So this is the things that we have to really look into so that it will not interrupt the rules that Allah has created. So now we go into the first current pillar, which is the pillar number 1, which is worship Allah based on the Quran, is missing from the Brundtland Report Sustainable Development pillar. So the biggest pillar, which is the principles based on the Quran and Sunnah, because the Sunnah is where Rasulullah actually practiced the Quran. So we have to hold on to these two principles based on the Quran and Sunnah is the pillar number 1. So the next is, we look into the following ayah. So fulfill the measure and wait, and do not deprive people of their due. So this ayah actually discussed the dishonesty in business during the Prophet Shuaib's time. The meaning of business in the Quran is not just the daily selling and buying in the market, but it actually relates to the order of life and the basic human needs about food, clothing, shelter, which includes in both social and economic needs. So studies have shown that there is a clear correlation between hunger, a deprivation of food, with low social behavior, and that may lead to low education and crime. And these findings directly related to the root problem, which is the economy. So actually, the social and economy ties together under the measurement of human needs. So if you look at this is where the pillars number 2 comes in, where you look at the UN model, demonstrated that the social and economy are two separate pillars. Whereas based on Surah 7, Ayah 85, these two pillars is actually combined together under the measurement of human needs. And okay, so the third pillar is, and cause not corruption upon the earth after its reformation. That is better for you if you should be believers. So this ayah remind us man should not disrupt the replenishing process of the earth. Thus, man must be educated on how the ecosystem works, so that any of his action to acquire his need in social and economic do not interrupt this process and to maintain the balance of ecosystem. We have to realize as human beings, we are actually part of this whole ecological network. But we didn't realize that we are actually part of this whole ecological network. So if you look at this, the rest of the creation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala follows his rule, except for us. If we don't have the Quran, we will interrupt the chain. We will make the damage in the ecosystem. We will contribute to that, as how has been mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah ayah 30 just now. So, similarly, in the Brundtland report, this pillar is known as the environmental pillar. However, in Surah 7, Ayah 85, specifies explicitly to fulfill the measurement of human needs, we must maintain the balance of the ecosystem by not causing corruption upon the earth after its reformation. So meaning, the measurement of human needs has certain boundaries. For us to be able to fulfill the measurement of human needs, we cannot go beyond the balance of ecosystem. We shouldn't be interrupting the balance of ecosystem. So in the end, we have the whole model of the sustainable development based on Surah 7, Ayah 85, which is different from what is promoted by the Brundtland Commission. So you can see on the right side is where the measurement of human needs cannot be beyond the balance of ecosystem. And for us to be able to control the balance of ecosystem, we need to have the principles based on the Quran and Sunnah. So this is where the definition of sustainable development should be revised to the development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs within the balance of ecosystem based on the principles of the Quran. So there is an addition. So what we have done in University Science Islam Malaysia is that the model that we have designed just now, which is based on 7 Ayah 85, becomes the basis of the whole curriculum in the Department of Architecture. So if you look at the way that we designed the whole curriculum, in the first year, where the concentration is actually on communication and the aspect of cultural context has been introduced, and where the technology and environment is being introduced to the students, this comes together and brings into each and every cluster of communication, culture, and technology will be tied to sustainable development. So this will be the main basis throughout the whole year when they are in their studies. So when it gets to the second year, we will increase the knowledge of cultural context and also technology and environment. And it goes into the management and practice and law will be introduced in the third year. So all this will bring into how they actually design their buildings. The way that they design their buildings throughout the years will be hold on by the model that we have just now. So you look at the model, the yellow part is where the principles of the Quran is being taught to them. In the early part, it's still small, the knowledge is still small, but it starts to grow throughout the years. And it starts to become bigger and the knowledge got better. Same goes to the rest. And the design will go through with the integration of Naqvi and Akli throughout the syllabus. And it will not just stop within the university, but we hope they will carry through when they go out of the university. So with that, with this model, it becomes the base when we want to teach all the subjects that is included in all these clusters. So in a conclusion, I would say that the Brundtland report has underlined three important pillars for sustainable development, which is a social, economy, and environment. Nonetheless, it is clear that in the last 3 decades of efforts invested in achieving it has not been successful, but deteriorating. The situation will not be corrected if man continues to be on the same path, which has been taken for more than 30 years, based on these 3 pillars. So after 1,400 years ago, the Creator has stressed that as man, he is created by him. The only way to govern this world is for us to come back to his rule and principle, which are in the Quran. So with that, thank you so much. Hopefully, it will enlighten the discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nurul. We enjoyed your speech and your lecture. You highlighted your topic beautifully with the beautiful examples and Quranic verses. Thank you so much again for highlighting how faith and knowledge can be combined to shape sustainable policies. Now, moving from theory and models to the actions, this is where young people and communities play a crucial role. Green technologies can be a bridge between values and practical change. So I would now like to invite Ms. Rida Ashraf. Ms. Rida, from your work with Takallum and climate advocacy, where simple and accessible green technologies can communities in Pakistan adopt to reduce environmental harm while staying true to Quranic principles of moderation and balance. Ms. Rida, it's over to you, please.
So as Dr. Khurram mentioned that I am a SDGs advocate, I really would like to add one thing here that people think that this is something, a new concept in the world introduced by the United Nations Development. But in my core, in my heart, I believe that this is always a very still and built-in thing in our Islamic and Muslim culture. If we see it as how environmental stewardship in Islam and sustainable development are aligned with, we can see that SDGs number 7, that is affordable and clean energy, is very much and highly interlinked. Because it is teaching us, and our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged the moderation in consumption of firewood and oil. And we have seen so many examples in our system as well in the earlier Islamic era. Then if we see for the SDGs number 9, industry and infrastructure, is also something that is very much aligned with our Islamic principles. The biggest example, we can see that at the time of the Umar bin Khattab, he was one who was working for the innovation, who was working on the canals, rails, and so many other things. And he even mentioned that do not cross the limit in using the land and resources. And he also introduced some policies back then. Then we see that SDGs number 17, that is sustainable cities and communities. This is very much aligned with the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he established the city of Medina. That was I would say, a model of sustainable living, because they were planting trees, creating market with fair practices. They ensured that the rates, even the behaviors of the sellers are meeting all the standards. They introduce some system for them to protect the zones of the natural lands as well. So we can see that the sustainable cities and communities, the example was at the time of Middle East. When we come to the SDGs number 12, responsible consumption and production, we have seen that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that do not waste water even if you are at a flowing pool. So this is something we are in this era practicing and telling everyone that try to be moderate in the usage, don't waste water. We are giving different examples, practices, we are making campaigns around it. But yes, examples are already there. Climate action, if we have to like narrow our knowledge and go back, then we will be able to see that how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if the doomsday comes and you have a seed in your hand, just go and plant it. So it is the biggest example to like behave and vote as a human, as a Khalifa, as a steward of this earth. So there could be many more examples like SDG 9, that is definitely about clean water and sanitation, decent work, economic growth, life below water, and life on land. Even Islam is not limited about the practices and the knowledge and the discipline on the land, but as well about the life below water. When we talk about life below water, usually we don't think how it matters to the human, but we are all living in a circle where each and everything is interlinked. So we can see that wildlife, the HEMA system that was introduced back then is the biggest example that not only we are prohibited to create, to cut the trees, but as well as there was some rules and there was guidance about the overfishing and limiting our usage as well. So we have seen that Islam is definitely the biggest and the most pillar of this earth to make it more livable for people, for everyone. We have not only some examples by the human development, but this is the backbone of our responsible life that Islam teaches us, that how we should behave. And if we go further, we can see that even that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that shouldn't be like we shouldn't be like crossing the limit of practicing a very moderate life, trying to limit ourselves, and we need to continue the conservation of our historical, our cultural, our Islamic values, the things that we are already have understand. Be very much thoughtful about it. We need to be very much careful about it. So I won't be going into other than this and the deep about the Islamic people. Both speakers are very much knowledgeable and they shared so many different verses, different ayat, and different Islamic point of views about it, how much it is important as a human being to safeguard the environment. So what green technologies can do here? So if we go further and closely watch that green technologies align closely with the Islamic principle, making sustainability not just a necessity, but a faith-driven responsibility. When it is emphasized in the Quran that we are the Khalifa, that means it is reminding us that humans are interested as the caretakers of the earth, and we should be keep in the moderation. And if we see that how green jobs are important, green technology is important in different times, and the biggest examples of this time is the climate crisis. That is very much evident. All the proofs are there that world is facing a global shift when it comes to climate change, and we can see it in every country. From Pakistan, floods have displaced millions of people. From the Middle East, heat waves are pushing human travel to its limits. From the North Africa, water scarcity is threatening the life of the livelihoods. The Muslim world, with its deserts, rivers, coastlines, everything is being compromised, and it is just because of the climate change that millions of people are now vulnerable, and they have to think how they can like reverse the system, reverse this most dangerous impact on the environment and on Earth as well. But we are also like deeply capable of leading solutions. So if we have to see some examples, we can definitely do that. We can create different models. We can create different systems, and we can come with different technologies that are not only providing support to ecosystem, support to our economy, but as well as important for the health of this environment and creating more jobs that are very ethical as well. So why technologies are important here? Because when we speak about the realities, and there are basically three realities, people usually talk about SDGs in terms of three pillars of social, economical, and in terms of human, but when prosperity. But when I see it in this angle, I believe that environment, culture, and economical, these are the three pillars basically. And on above of this, knowledge is very much important. So for me, it drives from knowledge and then go into environment, culture, and economic. So if we look into environmentally, they help us adapt and reduce the damages of are happening in our environment, and it is very much important. Then we go further, and if we look at culturally, or maybe more specifically, a religion-based, faith-based connection, then we can see that Khalifa is, or stewardship, remind us that we are the taker of the earth. So we need to work to avoid waste and lives on land, and we should be prepared with that systematic approaches that will be helpful not only for the economy, environment, but for the life of people on land. Green technologies are, and with the sustainable models that we usually in the United Nations goals, we call that social entrepreneurship, where you are earning, but definitely you are giving back to the society as well. You are maintaining a balance and not having a burden to ask for zakat and donations for it to continue. But instead, you have a very strong, very specific, very integral business model that is also helping to grow your business, but also helping to like give back to the society. And how it is like the way it is will help in very diverse, innovative way, and still it will create many jobs for the young population. When we are talking about in different panels, we usually say that the it's not about that AI is taking over or maybe any other system is taking over. We have seen that calculator couldn't be able to replace the human, but yes, it should make the life of the human more easy to calculate the thing. So it is also a system, green technologies, where we are creating more jobs, where we are creating different technologies, and we are supporting the community. And there is even a research that even only in Muslim countries, that 60% of people are under 30. So imagine that how much potential is there and how much we should be more concerned that what our young generation will be getting from it and how they will continue to take care of the environment, to take care of the land, to be a real responsible Khalifa or on this earth, right? So we have seen some, and I will be able to like share some examples around the board where we are using different technologies to support the system, as well as we are creating jobs. So if there are, mostly we call that there are three different pathways when we talk about the transition from jobs to green jobs. One is greening your job, one and other is green entrepreneurship, and the third one is in the green field. So the difference between these three categories are, in one, you are already working in some place where you are aligned with all those best practices that are supporting the environmental system. Maybe you are working in an NGO who is supporting and working for the environment also. Or maybe you are working somewhere that is aligned with the WWF and their practices, or maybe directly into WWF. So this is just an example, right? So they are working to support the environment, economy, air, wildlife, everything. So you are directly aligned with it. But when it comes to another stage of greening your job, means that you are working in somewhere where you have not, organization, or maybe you can say the company is not following the core value of business or social enterprises. We can give you example of like iPhone. They have nothing to do with the environment. They have nothing to do with like how to support the system on the earth. They are just doing their business, creating billions of dollars for them, and they are working how to increase the profit. But one day, as we know that there is a Paris Agreement, they thought about let's have someone who can help us to align our values, our goals with the UN SDGs, or maybe somewhere we can help to reduce our impact or emissions to help the environment. So what they introduced, they called for a sustainable officer. His job was to like come with different ideas that how can they support the environment or climate. So what the sustainable officer did that he gave an advice that stop making new countries, airports, or in that you can ask people if they have a damaged piece, they can definitely come to us, we will repair it, or we can give one in exchange of the damaged one. So what they are doing, they are recycling and also collecting the waste material, right? So this person, simply by giving one advice, not only helped the organization to reduce its manufacturing cost of creating, of developing and designing new airports or airports, they just came with an idea that we can offer you a replacement or you can go for that side. So this is something greening your job, right? And when we talk about the green entrepreneurship, so this is something that highly aligns with how you are coming with a very unique, yet a very practical idea that how we can help the environment. So maybe someone who is working on an app that inform an individual or organization about its carbon footprint, right? So that how much they are emissions they are producing, and maybe it can give you advice on that how you can like limit your supply chain. So these are different ways in which you can help people and the environment as well come forward and work together. These are the examples. Now we can see that these practical examples happening around in the world. So the good news is that already there are many countries who are working on this pitch. If we have to go for Pakistan example, that CAKCCIS solar park is one of the biggest examples that the whole park is converted to the solar system. And there are also many other projects, hybrid renewable energy projects that are working in Punjab and Sindh across Asia Pacific as well. And even in the Egypt, the solar park is also introduced over there. The Saudi Arabia working is Dumat al-Jandal wind farm that is going to like help create clean energy for around 70,000 households. And if we go further, Turkey is also working on waste to energy plant processes. So these ideas of green technologies, greening your job, green entrepreneurship is not only helping the environment, but they are also creating jobs. Even we talk about just waste to energy plant resources, and 1.4 million people already got the benefits from this project because they are learning how to like assemble the solar panels, how to maintain them, how to recycle them, and so many other things. And we can see that with this concept, we are creating more jobs. We have seen that this is not a culture in the West world where they they go for the maintenance or they go for to reset any product. They just use it. If it is not working, they just dump it into dustbins. But yes, in Asian countries, we are more I would say mature, and we live with some practical examples as well, because it is something rooted in our belief and religion as well. We don't just dump things after using one time. So this concept is also going into these countries where they are also going for the recycling and repurposing the product as well. So these are some examples that we can see that how it is helping the people and the livelihood. And also we can see that renewable energy sector already give so many people the jobs in worldwide. Solar panel energy is providing 5 million people jobs, right? So the point is having an emphasis on that the green technologies are the basic and most important terminology, concept, and need of the time, because it is not only helping us to like create jobs, or it is not only help us to create like more opportunities, but it's highly aligned that as the steward of this earth, it doesn't matter you are a Muslim, you are non-Muslim, you belong to any Abrahamic religion, you are Hindu, whatever you are. So everyone is now responsible to help the environment to reverse the impact of climate crisis currently. So this system is highly aligned with our like sustainable agriculture system, our circular economy, our clean energy projects, are the startups who are working, the passionate people who are coming with different ideas. And this is my belief, as I'm also working on the UN Sustainable Development Goals and its link with the Islamic beliefs. I came with a hypothesis that it is always knowledge, the one point where we should start building this knowledge and we go further. So as a Muslim, it's our belief that we should work what is beneficial for the earth, and we should work on those things that truly shows that we are advocate of this earth and this planet. So there are maybe so many people around us who are still bound to utilize the benefits of the fossil fuels, but we need to come with more policies. We need to come with more technology-based, database backed solution that will help us to shift our system, shift our practices from one place to another. Just we call this the green transition. So the green technologies is something that can truly help us, and nobody will be like compromising livelihood.